is this still say going live? Now I'm live. So I don't know if it just started or what, but I'm talking about intuitive logic. And this is like a beautiful point into philosophy. So philosophy has a really bad habit of not summarizing the overall, this is what it is. There's all the little checkpoints inside of it, but there's not one big defined summary of, hi, this is philosophy. Because it is so fucking vast, it's an undefined. Really, truly, philosophy is undefined. And people define it as a lover of wisdom. No. And then people think that you've got your science, you've got your art, you've got your math, and then you've got philosophy. No. No. Philosophy is the umbrella, and under all of philosophy are all of the subjects. So if you are studying physics, you are studying a branch of philosophy. If you are studying art, you are studying a branch of philosophy. If you are studying psychology, you are studying a branch of philosophy. But philosophy is the actual logical, it's logic. It is the logical breakdown of all of the subjects combined into the interdisciplinary study of all of them. It is the summation of all. That is what philosophy is. The summation of all knowledge. There. That is philosophy. And it's something that it's never defined, because we lost this information in the 4th century. So people don't comprehend because no one has sat through and gone through the entire scope of philosophy, which is why whenever you look anything up, you will find, pay attention, in philosophy, this is defined as this over here. It's because everything belongs to philosophy, because philosophy is the summation of all the knowledge. We were not supposed to be studying just one of these subjects. We were supposed to be studying all of the subject under the heading of philosophy, the summation of all of the knowledge. And when you combine the summation of all of the knowledge, what you get is literally love. It's fucking beautiful. And Pythagoras knew this. So Pythagoras called it wisdom love. So when you sit down and you look at the summation of all knowledge, now people can choose pieces of philosophy to study, but it's supposed to be, how do I explain it? It's like we're all cooking dinner, but you have some people who only study sauce, and you have other people who only do desserts, and you have some people who only make chocolate. And then the chocolatier starts to fight with the sauce and argues that they're doing it wrong and they're not using right techniques. And then they go to war over who's right and who's better. It's the same thing. And then you've got some people who create techniques over here and some people who create techniques over here, and then they start conflicting. But had they studied the entire summation of all knowledge, they would know that you're making stone soup. So psychology is the carrot, and economics is a potato, and astronomy is salt. So then you have the salt people arguing with the carrot people. And then you have theologists and spiritualists and religious people. And that's equivalent to the beef. And then you have people who have parsley. And let's say for a minute that the parsley people are scientists. Let's say specifically physicists. And now you've got the parsley and the beef arguing with each other that both of them are wrong and neither one of them are compatible. But you're making stone soup. Philosophy is the soup. And all of these little individual ingredients are just ingredients in the soup. But no one has studied the recipe. So that's the problem. This is why education is broken in our system, is because people don't understand philosophy. Not even philosophers know this, because philosophers will study 10 years and they won't study the physics. They'll just study the logic and that's it. And not even then. So you have to study all of it. And it is all based off of logic. It is based off of the ability to shift perspective. It is based off of education. And every one of these ingredients, the carrot, the potato, the salt, is just a different perspective. So it's the study of all perspectives summarized under the one, which is the stone soup. The summation of all knowledge is philosophy. Now, that being said, there is something in philosophy called logical intuition. So we have a lot of people running around going, oh, I'm following my gut. Oh, it's my logical intuition. Well, they're saying it's my intuition. It's my intuition. But what they don't know is that the word intuition is half of a phrase. The other half of that phrase is logical intuition. And that belongs to philosophy. So it is defined in philosophy, which was presented by Plato and Aristotle, that it is our mathematical or our rational intuition, a series of instinctive foresight, know-how, and savviness often associated with the ability to perceive logic or math truth and the ability to solve math and challenges efficiently. It is the internalized level of mathematics. It's internalized math. Physics is part of frequency, rhythm, pulse, and basic deduction, where we just know things. You know things because there's that logical intuition of just sensing it. The more educated you are, the more aligned to this mathematical rhythm that you are. And that brings it in so that you have a sharper logical intuition, which is really just pulled right out of philosophy. So that when you start bringing all of this together in your stone soup, you start to see how all the pieces are aligned. It's the same thing. It is literally the same topic. So there's a lot happening right now in the spiritual world, and India, especially Hinduism and Christianity. All of them, they're all starting to align. And all the religions are starting to get really excited because of the phenomena that's occurring right now. It's predictable. It's very predictable. Very predictable. It's math. And they're all getting excited simultaneously. And they're all going, oh my God, it's right, because it's happening now. And they're all saying this and they're all doing. Well, the answer is they're all right. And they're all just interpretations, different interpretations of the same thing. So there is X, a big giant X that's happening. That's the stone soup. And all of these different subjects are freaking out, going, wow, wow, wow. And well, if you studied the stone soup, it would all make sense. But because no one has studied the soup, they're freaking out over how awesome all this is. But it's predictable math. And scientists, a lot of scientists, some of them are open-minded to it, going, holy shit, something's going on. But most of them are going, yeah, if I can't see the proof, then I'm not interested. And as a result, they're not paying attention, and they're just kind of dismissing the spiritual world, which is blowing up right now. The spiritual world is going fucking nuts. And it's the integration of all of the subjects. And that's really what it's all coming down to, is there is a great integration happening right now. I call it the age of authenticity, but I know India has their term for it. I don't care, because that's not my interpretation. That is one piece of this big piece. My focus is all on the integration of all the parts into the whole. And there is the whole. And then you've got all of these fractions. Science is a fraction. Christianity is a fraction. Hinduism is a fraction. Buddhism is a fraction. Art is a fraction. Everybody's got fractions, and all the fractions are coming together and they're getting closer. But because they don't have the integrated whole, the big picture, philosophy, they don't know what they're dealing with. They don't understand where it's all going. So everyone's getting excited. We are also looking at a massive worldwide jihad that is starting to occur, and it's going to get bigger. And as that doles out, it's going to cause more conflict because math says so. Because when you weigh in all the ingredients and you see the mathematical calculations, you can see precisely where it's going to fall, precisely when and where, because the 12 ethical perspective stages say so and physics backs it up. So when you start to see how all of this is coming together, it's just everyone coming into the integrated whole. That's all that's going on. And everything's starting to add up. Everything is starting to mesh like this. The problem is the people who expect it to look like Y, but it's looking like Z. This is going to be and is the problem, is you've got a lot of people who expect it to look like Y. And when it comes together and it does not look like Y, those people are going to launch war to force it to look like Z, or they're going to resist it because it's turning out to be Z, and they are dead set against it looking like Y. Those are your second perspectives. Second and third perspectives are going to be the primary cause of that. Is they are going in thinking that it's going to be Y, and as things meld together and it looks closer to Z, to be honest with you, it's looking closer to a B. It's they want Y, but it's going to become a B, and that's where we're going to get into a massive war with resistance and force, because they want it to look closer to their Y, and that's not going to happen because their interpretation is wrong. It's still there, but their interpretation of it, they're taking it literally, basically. There's literal and then there's metaphorical. And because they took the metaphor literally, it's not going to become the literal metaphor. It's going to become the metaphor. And because they expected it to be literal, that's where there's going to be a lot of resistance. So this is where the soup is coming together. It's all coming together, and we're getting closer and closer until it's finally fit together. And then you have the integrated whole. And then all the subjects are going to be the same subject. And it already is. This is philosophy. But because long, long ago, 2,000 years ago, we broke up all the pieces and they're all separated, people don't know this. The philosophers figured it out and they put all the pieces together and they taught it, called philosophy. From Pythagoras, prior to Pythagoras, but Pythagoras all the way up to the 4th century when we lost all this stuff. And then it's been a matter of, well, we plunged into the Dark Ages. This is why we plunged into the Dark Ages in Western culture. In other cultures, they didn't do this, but in other cultures, they didn't have access to the Roman Alexandria. So when Rome destroyed Alexandria and we lost all of this, they continued to piece what they had together. The Eastern culture continued to piece what they had together. And it's all just the same it's all variations and translations of the same thing all coming together, which is philosophy, which is the integrated whole of the summation of all knowledge, all basically interpreting the same story. There's this one center point in the middle. So that's what's going on with the world. We are all just integrating back into the one story. And when you see something like logical intuition, this is like so many times it's come up where I'll be sitting there and I'll go, oh, there it is. And it's linked. It's always linked back to philosophy. There's nothing new. It's always been there in philosophy. So it's just like, oh, there it is in philosophy and plugging it in. So when you say intuition or your gut, that is what philosophers refer to as your logical intuition, which is all linked into your innate sense of math, logic, and philosophy. I'm sorry, logic, math, and physics that's already tuned into the world, because we're on a big clock. We're just on a big clock. And you can't be on this clock without feeling it, which is just math, which is why you can make logical deductions based off of the math, because it's on a repetition of 12. So when you understand how it repeats itself, it all just keeps coming back in on itself. Really, really fucking cool. The problem is not really a problem. It's more like just the synchronicity of it is there's some things that are on a different calculation of 12 because time is subjective depending upon which perspective you're in. So some things take a longer rotation of 12, while other things take a shorter. A great example is the clock. The clock is on a rotation of 12. So is our calendar. But the calendar takes a full year of 12 to go around, while the clock takes a full day to go around the full 12. Well, 2 full days, half a day. So you can see how the 12 is a constant theme in all of this, but depending upon the timing is going to depend on when that 12 is in a full complete rotation of itself. And it's dependent upon a lot of different variables like the Fibonacci sequence, a lot of different variables like the philosopher's compass and the Pythagorean theorem. It all just keeps rotating in on itself. So when you get into astronomy at the very, very end of all of this and you look at everything, all the subjects in a mass, that's when you see how they all fit together and the timing of each. And it's highly predictable, which is when Plato's astrology, which is we lost in the 4th century, could divine and predict the future so accurately is because it was just mathematical repetition, which is also what the Incas and the Mayans figured out with their calendar, which again was just mathematical repetition. It's really anticlimactic. It's really anticlimactic, which is also why astrology today is like a fraction of a fraction. And it's not mysticism. Mysticism and magic is terms that people plug in when they don't understand the math, the logic, and the physics. And the more you understand the math, the physics, the logics, the whole conglomerate of philosophy, the magic is lost. It suddenly goes from being this beautiful to okay, that's rather anticlimactic because it's just math and it's just rhythm. So seeing how it all fits together is, and that's all that's happening. It's just a whole. It's an integration of the whole. So. And yeah, that's it. So thank you so much for your audience, and may the kindest of words always find you.